Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to this very special edition of the Main Event Talk right here on YouTube. And this is usually, normally I wouldn't do another episode of the Main Event Talk right now, but I had to for the obvious reason because I was looking into my Facebook, I was looking into my Twitter, I read through some reports, and there's a lot of breaking news that is going down right here, right now. So the Main Event thought, you know what? I'm bored as fuck at work. I need to do something a little bit different. So as soon as the Main Event gets out of work, I'm going to go ahead, head home, drink me something, come in, and set up another Main Event Talk and call this the Breaking News Edition of the Main Event Talk. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So, the breaking news in regards to WWE and in regards to TNA Wrestling. We'll start with TNA Wrestling. You guys probably have heard the story. If you guys didn't, go to TNAWrestling.com. There's two major announcements that the Main Event must bring up. The first announcement, I think was announced just yesterday. I should have brought it up on my last episode of the Main Event Talk. Did not, but after 4 years of waiting, ladies and gentlemen, the four-sided ring that everyone has been so used to in TNA Wrestling is officially out the fucking window, which means we don't have to deal with this crap anymore, which means I don't have to see this four-sided ring anymore. Now, here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I like the four-sided ring when it was in the WWE. I like the four-sided ring when it's in Ring of Honor. When TNA had it, it was okay. When they decided to switch it and go to the six-sided ring, it is what is now known as best for business. Okay? That's my opinion. That's the way it goes. If you agree with it, you understand it. If you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. So nonetheless, the six-sided ring is now in TNA, and we don't have to deal with that crap anymore. And just to kind of bring up this little interpretation, I heard that a few particular superstars, are not exactly too thrilled that the other ring is coming, the six-sided ring is coming. Here's the thing. A long time ago, in TNA Wrestling, when I first saw it, it was a six-sided ring. It had some of the greatest talent that ever performed in a six-sided ring. When I saw it, I remember the six sides of steel. I remember a pay-per-view entitled, I believe it was Final Resolution or Turning Point. I'm sorry, Turning Point. There were two great tag teams going at it. One was Triple X, and the other, America's Most Wanted. They put on one hell of a tag team matchup in the six sides of steel. It was unquestionably the most bloodiest six sides of steel I've ever seen, with one of the most awesome moves and one of the most awesome moments I've seen in TNA. Do you remember a man by the name of Primetime Elix Skipper? Do you remember that little move that he did at the very corner, right over here? Here's, I believe it was Cowboy James Storm, or not Cowboy James Storm, it was Chris Harris. He was like pretty much dazed and confused and stuff. And then Elix Skipper had one time to do this. Because if he didn't do this move, he would have slipped, he would have fell, he would have crushed his skull, and that would have ended the match. But it didn't happen. So he tiptoes right over to the ring, puts a Hurricane Rana right at the very top of the six-sided steel, and bam! Holy fucking shit! That crowd went completely nuts when they were screaming, "Holy shit!" That was awesome. I remember that, So once again, congratulations go out to TNA Wrestling for bringing back the six sides of steel. We miss you, we love you, and if you ever decide to leave us ever again, Dixie Carter, we're going to put you in the ring, we're going to lay you flat on your ass, and then we're going to drop you off. Yes, we're going to drop you off at the WWE headquarters. Yes, we're going to drop you off there because we're going to leave you there for dead. We're going to leave you there with Vince McMahon, the chairman of the board of World Wrestling Entertainment. He's going to lay you flat on your ass, okay? He is going to lay you out, and if he has to bust his dick out and fuck the living shit out of you, do it! It'd be the greatest porn in wrestling ever seen, okay? But anyways, I'm glad that the Six Sides of Steel is back. Well, I'm glad the six-sided ring's coming back. But not only that, I saw some huge news in TNA, and I also saw some huge news in other parts of Facebook and other parts of Twitter. You guys know the story. Believe it or not, and this is something that I cannot believe is going to take place. There was a press conference that took place between Dixie Carter and one of the greatest Japanese wrestlers of all time, the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the Great Muta. He was there, and the announcement is that on October 12th, Sunday, October 12th, for the first time ever, Bound for Glory is going to be in Tokyo, Japan. Oh man, I'll tell you what. When I heard the news, at first I wasn't too thrilled about it, but then again I was like, wait a minute. This is the first time that a big event like Bound for Glory is finally going to get out of the States and go right into, somewhere in England or somewhere in Japan or somewhere. And I'm glad they're finally doing it. Here's the thing. The only thing I wish that WWE would do is take WrestleMania to its greatest height. The only international place that I know that WrestleMania had ever took place was over in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which was WrestleMania 6. That was as far international as they can go, But for TNA Wrestling to cross that boundary, take Bound for Glory and take it over to Tokyo, Japan, that is huge. And, it'd be crazy to go from one end of the state to the other just to see TNA's Bound for Glory. Hopefully, this Bound for Glory will be a little bit better than what happened last year's Bound for Glory. It was unquestionably, to me, in my opinion, probably the worst Bound for Glory pay-per-view in the history of TNA Wrestling. But that's just my opinion. So hats off to TNA Wrestling. Good job, you guys. I can't wait to see TNA Wrestling's Bound for Glory on pay-per-view over in Tokyo, Japan. That's huge. I love Japanese wrestling. I love seeing, if there's one thing that I love about Tokyo, Japan, especially when it comes to Japan, the tradition in Japanese wrestling. I respect many of the greatest Japanese wrestlers that ever came from there, from not just the likes of the Great Muta, but others like Masahiro Chono. I remember that name quite well. And of course, it wouldn't be Japan if you don't think about the great Antonio Inoki. Gotta remember that name. There are other names in particular that come to mind. Yoshihiro Tajiri, you know who he is. He came from ECW to WWE and so forth. And, there's a few other names that come to mind. But nonetheless, congratulations to TNA for pulling that off. Bound for Glory will be in Tokyo, Japan on October 12th, exclusively on pay-per-view for the first time ever. Bound for Glory goes international in Tokyo, Japan. That's awesome. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about the WWE for a moment. If you guys have heard the story, well, a release was just hit. Former Tough Enough competitor and now WWE announcer. Well, now he's no longer an announcer for WWE. His name is Josh Matthews. He was just released from the WWE just probably a couple of hours ago. I was reading through, my Facebook, reading through my Twitter, and he's gone. He's no longer a part of WWE anymore. And to me, he was a great announcer, and I digged him for that. I mean, I know that he couldn't compete worth a shit in the ring, but he was definitely a great announcer. He's been with the company for, I think, since 2001, 2002, I think, if I remember correctly. Josh Matthews, great announcer, love the guy, and, I wish he didn't have to go, but, if the WWE's got to cut somebody off, they got to cut somebody off, okay? So, best of luck in your future endeavors, Josh Matthews, and hopefully, if Ring of Honor or TNA Wrestling can pick that up, take Josh Matthews, and personally to me, I think Josh Matthews would be perfect in Ring of Honor, in my opinion, because he's not just a WWE fan, he's a pro wrestling fan. That's what I think about Josh Matthews the most. Of course, his idols were pretty much like Michael Cole and, of course, good old JR, Jim Ross, so he would be great, to me, in my opinion, for either TNA or Ring of Honor, but I would stick for him to go to Ring of Honor. Now,